Humanity sets the agenda.
It is 12. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mari Mokwenda. Muslim marriages have been in the spotlight recently. The Constitutional Court on the 5th of August heard the state's appeal against the judgment by the Supreme Court of Appeal to recognize Muslim marriages through the provisions of the Divorce Act. However, some within the Muslim community believe that the state recognition of Muslim marriages are contrary to Sharia. Joining me is Farhana Ismail, the Chairperson of Islamic Careline Board of Management and attorney, to shed some light on this situation. And in light of Women's Month, let us find out more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and shukran for joining me, Farhana. All right, it seems like we have a sound issue. We could not hear Farhana. Farhana, if you can please try and unmute your mic. No, still cannot hear you. All right. What you can do is just refresh your device that you are using, and we will catch up with you in a moment. So if you have any comments, questions, queries, or suggestions about this topic, send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 061-766-0355. Alternatively, you can leave them in the comment section below. We are live on Facebook. And what are your thoughts regarding the Muslim marriages being recognized by the state? Do you feel that Muslim marriages should be recognized, or Muslim marriages should not be recognized? And why, if you do feel that they should or should not? Because we would also like to know more about it and the impact that it's going to have on Muslim marriages. Let us check now. Assalamu alaikum, Farhana. No, still cannot hear you. I think we should take this to the telephone instead. Perhaps we will hear you better that way. So as I was mentioning earlier, that Muslim marriages have been in the spotlight, and it was like Muslim marriages are in the spotlight. It's the Muslims again. The Muslims always want the attention to be on them, and that's not the case. I mean, people just want things to be easier and to have marriage recognized by the state, so that when it's time to do things legally, then at least the state is involved. But then what is the impact of that, as well as the impact of the divorce and how to split the assets, etc., etc. We're just waiting for Farhana to join, and we will continue with the conversation over there. And I am looking for an article right now which I want to share with you regarding the Muslim marriages bill. From last week rather, and it says here. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we will continue thereafter, and hopefully Farhana will be with us.
The blessings of charity are the ideal means to avoid calamity and despair. The Al-Imdad Foundation gives you the opportunity to sponsor a share in borehole in South Africa for just 1,000 rand and provide what the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, called the best form of charity. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Looking to get your kick? Kiki's have now reopened on 235 Matthews Maiwa Road in Durban. Head on over for the Taste with Kick. We offer something scrumptious for everyone in the family. Wraps, chicken tikka, burgers, bartender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the taste with kick.
The two major dams for the Eastern Cape's biggest metro, Nelson Mandela Bay, are running dry with no major rain forecast. The city of Port Elizabeth is facing an unprecedented water crisis, home to an estimated 1.3 million people. The Al Fida Foundation needs your support to deliver water to impoverished areas. Support our water drive and help us raise monies for water delivery vehicles to ensure water distribution in areas of critical need. Donate your lillah to the Al Fida Foundation. Visit our website at www.alfida.co.za or contact us at 041 484 1288.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 14.
Hello?
Hello,
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. All right.
Okay.
We're just waiting for the ad break to finish and then we'll continue, inshallah.
Amen.
Clothing and blankets, fresh water portal trucks, and even on-site navigators. We use every cent to better their tomorrow. Become part of our journey to bring relief to all. Go to www.ashrafulaid.org or call us on 011-809-8181. Ashraful Aid, under the auspices of Maulana Suhail Wadi.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
It is 8 minutes past 12. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media. The Constitutional Court on the fifth heard of the state's appeal against the judgment by the Supreme Court of Appeal to recognize Muslim marriages through the provisions of the Divorce Act. However, some within the Muslim community believe that the state recognition of Muslim marriages are contrary to Sharia. Joining me right now on the other side of the stream is Farhana Ismail, the Chairperson of Islamic Careline's Board of Management and attorney. Assalamu alaikum, Farhana. Shukran for joining me.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having me on the show.
Alhamdulillah, that's much better. I can hear you.
Sorry for the delay.
Right. So for those who don't understand what was happening, can you please explain the Muslim marriages and how does it differ from the secular marriages?
Okay, so Mariam, I think that before we go into that, we need to have a background of what the status of Muslim marriages and the law is for the last 20 years. I think that everybody is fully aware now about the Muslim marriages bill that hasn't come into legislation because over the last 20 years, there's been a lot of opposition to the bill. So as a result of the bill not having coming into legislation, etc., the Women's Legal Center took the case to court in 2014 initially. I'm not going to go into the facts of, because we've got very limited time, but basically what happened was when the Women's Legal Center went to court, a judgment was then passed thereafter, and that judgment was appealed in the Supreme Court of Appeals, which delivered a judgment in December of 2020. And the importance of that judgment of 2020 is that there is the current status of Muslim marriages in South Africa as it stands now. And certain parts of their judgment had to be referred to the Constitutional Court for confirmation. And so, so just to break it down, there is the case that was heard on the 1st of August was confirmation of the Supreme Court of Appeal judgment.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, or rather, how does this status affect Muslim marriages?
So, in terms of the Supreme Court of Appeal judgment in December 2020, and before I go into the salient points of their judgment, I just like to say that whatever I'm relating on the show now is our factual points. It's not necessarily my endorsement of the judgment or any personal view that I share, because I know that it's quite an emotional topic, and I don't want listeners, sending in questions or thinking that this is my view. But this is what the judgment in 2020 stated, that the Marriage Act and the Divorce Act are declared to be inconsistent with certain acts of the Constitution of this country because it fails to recognize Muslim marriages. So the sections that they declared to be inconsistent with Section 9, which is every person has a right to equality in this country, and they felt that because Muslim marriages were not recognized, it infringed the rights of equality of Muslim women in that they were not afforded equal protection and benefit of the law, and they were indirectly discriminated on the grounds of race, gender, sex, social origin, religion, belief, and culture. And then, the other section that the Supreme Court of Appeal held that infringed on a Muslim woman's right to human dignity, in that every person in this country had the right to have their dignity respected and protected. And the fact that Muslim marriages were not and currently not recognized, it infringed on a Muslim person's human dignity. And I think that the important thing here is that, everyone's focusing on women's rights and, the injustices that they feel are perpetrated against women in the non-recognition. But as the judgment stands, it gives recognition to both men and women in an Islamic marriage, because obviously a marriage is made up of two persons, a male and a female. The other thing that the court found was that it went against section that the Marriage and Divorce Act did not recognize children in an Islamic marriage, and that it infringed on children's rights. In addition to the fact that due to the wrong non-recognition, Muslim women were not given equal access to courts as what women of other faith, religions, and cultures were given. So what the Supreme Court of Appeal then decided, which is so pertinent for today's discussion, and that everybody does not have a clear understanding about, is that pending the outcome of Parliament amending the legislation, the current legislation in the Divorce Act and the Marriage Act, or pending the enactment of new legislation relating to Muslim marriages, within a period of 24 months, that's what Parliament gave, that's what the courts gave Parliament and Cabinet, that the following position will apply. So this is where we stand now. And it said that the position that will apply would be that Section 7.3 of the Divorce Act would apply to Muslim marriages. So what that actually means is that Muslim marriages for current purposes are deemed to be out of community of property. Now, in terms of the Divorce Act, when a marriage is deemed to be out of community of property, there is a provision in terms of Section 7 that deals with the redistribution of assets in a divorce, even though you are married out of community of property. So, there's a lot that can be said about this. We can't go into details, today we have limited time, but a redistribution would be, where in circumstances where women were the common housewife and they, sat at home all of these years, and all of a sudden, after 20 years, there's a divorce. Their assets are mostly in one spouse's name. The other spouse doesn't have anything by virtue of the fact of not having work. So the court will look at a redistribution of those assets.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if there's anything
Mhm.
that you'd like to ask me at this stage.
Yes. Yes. Now, there were some people suggesting that this is contrary to the Sharia. So, what impact does this have? This act have on the Sharia?
So, look, for as it stands now, we don't live in a country that practices Sharia law, and as citizens of this country, we subjected now to the Constitution and the laws of this country. And the impact of it is that we do, it's actually said we don't have any recourse currently as it stands, because that is the legal position. Hence, the opposition that you've been seeing in the media against the judgment and the matter that was currently at the Constitutional Court. So, what happened at the Constitutional Court was, earlier on when we started this interview, I said to you that, certain sections of the Marriage and the Divorce Act were declared to be inconsistent with the Constitution, those certain sections. And in terms of the Supreme Court of Appeal judgment in December, those declarations of constitutional invalidity had to be referred to the Constitutional Court for confirmation. And that is what transpired in the case that was heard on the 5th of August in the Constitutional Court, where the Constitutional Court had to now agree and confirm the Supreme Court of Appeal's finding in that those sections that I related to you earlier on did discriminate against Muslim marriages, and that, it had to be declared unconstitutional, and hence the current law needed to be amended to include Muslim marriages. And, there's been a lot of opposition by various religious organizations and sectors of the community. And obviously because, we as Muslims, there are many people of the view that our Quran and our Sharia, our Quranic laws can never be subject to constitutional discretion.
All right. And now, moving forward, if Muslim marriages are not recognized, would this mean that a couple must now go and register separately at the Home Affairs?
So, Muslim marriages, as I said to you now, because of the judgment in December 2020, are recognized, right? But if it goes to court, it would be a marriage out of community of property. Okay. Now, there's nothing that precludes couples going forward. There's never been anything that precludes couples going forward from registering a civil marriage. So you can. There are many marriage officers out there, Muslim marriage officers as well, that can conclude a civil marriage. And again, couples are free to enter into any marriage contract that they deem necessary prior to concluding the civil marriage.
All right. So Muslim marriages are recognized, but only out of community of property. So that's where it stands at the moment. Now,
let me qualify. It's out of community until Parliament or the Cabinet now amends the law or enacts new law. That's very important for the listeners to know. And that is where, you've seen the opposition is that, we've had several sectors, and I can also, speak on behalf of the Muslim Lawyers Association that has opposed this greatly, where they are of the opinion that, Muslim couples and Muslims should have their own tribunals where they are not opposed to the recognition of the marriage in terms of South African law. However, their stance is that the consequences must be dealt with within our own Islamic tribunals with our own experts, and not subject to courts deciding on what the consequences in a divorce in a Muslim marriage should be.
All right. So, and going forward, what should we know, especially for couples, new couples who want to get married and don't know how to go about with this new acts and laws that are in place?
I think that, one of the things that, I think is very important and very close to my heart is that, Muslim couples prior to marriage should be educated on what their rights and obligations are within the Sharia. And, the Islamic position regarding marriages, everyone's of the misconception that Muslim marriages are ANC without accrual, in that what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine. There is a default position in the absence of the couple having had an agreement. So, I said this, I was on Julie Ali's show the other day as well. I had quite a short interview with her. And I said to her that, I think it's important that we get one of the ulama or an Islamic expert to come on your show, because there is nothing that precludes a Muslim couple in Sharia to conclude an agreement, to contract otherwise. But this has to be done at the commencement of the marriage. And I think therein lies the problem, because couples are not being told that from a Sharia perspective, even though they say it's out of community of property, that the proviso is that unless the couples agree otherwise or they contract otherwise. So there's nothing that stops a couple from saying prior to marriage, okay, fine, the husband can go out at work and work, the wife can stay at home and, she can look after the children, look after his home. That also in itself is a full-time job. But because he's going out and working, her degree and her labor and her skill is being used in the home. So in the event that, say, for example, they agree to buy a property or they go into a business venture, the wife can be entitled to half, or vice versa. The wife may be working and earning more than him, but he may be contributing to the marriage in a different way. There's nothing, again, that stops the couple from saying, let us do a contract that in the event that we buy property, the property will still be registered half into our name. So the Sharia does make a provision for couples to contract out of the community of property regime.
All right. Now, if the couple there was no such discussion prior to their marriage, can they still make a discussion before purchasing large assets like a home, etc.?
Yes, they can. I assume it. I assume it is on a case-to-case basis, and at the end of the day, as Muslims, we submit to our conscience. Ultimately, that's what Allah is going to judge us by, is our fairness and our justice to each other also, And even though it was not discussed, there's nothing that, throughout the marriage that stops couples from entering into different contracts. For example, a husband or a wife may want to open up a business 10 years into the marriage. And they can agree that, the husband will finance the business and they are partners in this business that are on a 50% or 30% or whatever percentage they agree on, as long as it's reduced to writing. The thing about these contracts is that there's certain provisions that may not necessarily be registrable within the South African framework. So, anti-nuptial contracts are registered in the deeds office. Because this is not a country that has Sharia laws, there may be certain provisions in the contract. So, one of the most controversial issues in a marriage contract would be that of talaq. So the deeds office will not necessarily then agree to register a contract that deals with provisions of talaq, if you understand what I mean. So there's a lot that, as us as Muslim attorneys, us the ulama, that we need to go through going forward. We've got a lot of work to do in terms of, how we're going to structure these marriage contracts and take it forward, because I do believe that there is a solution to all the problems that we are facing currently in the matters that are being dealt with before court, is that everybody is focusing on the consequences and the divorce. Everyone's looking at what happens when Muslim women get divorced, but nobody is focusing on what are a Muslim woman's rights and a Muslim man's rights, for that matter, and the obligations at the commencement of the marriage. And I think once we get that aspect right, we're not going to be sitting with the issues that we have now in the courts, where we are now fighting. Muslim groups are fighting against each other, and we are actually asking a court of law to decide on where we stand within, the religious framework. I think that's absolutely sad.
It is indeed sad. And with just a few minutes left, I want to quickly ask her, what about when polygyny or polygamy is in play? Would the process still be the same, or does that also need to be looked into?
It has to be looked into, because now remember, in South African law, you're not allowed to hear more than one civil marriage registered. Now that the issue comes in when a person has a second wife and a third wife and so forth. And, it would never allow a Muslim a man now to register the second, third, and fourth wife. And that will now result in, the constitutional infringement of, a woman's right to equality. So there are so many impediments that will arise in the event that we are going to be subjected to constitutional, if we are going to be given, if marriages are going to be recognized within the framework of the South African law. Not only polygamy, there are so many other instances. One of the most, widely discussed topic is also about the age of consent when getting married. Is that in Sharia, it's when a girl becomes baligh. In the South African law, it's when the girl turns the age of 18. And by us fighting for the law to recognize our marriages and to be able to interfere with what Allah has ordained and what the Quran commands of us, I think that's absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, well, we do have quite some time to go, but I hope there will be some positive change that will come out of this. Farhana, shukran so much for your time and for breaking that down for us.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Farhana Ismail, the chairperson of Islamic Careline Board of Management and also attorney, taking us through the Muslim marriages and in light of taking us through the current status of Muslim marriages in light of the recent proceedings that took place on the 5th of August this month. And as she mentioned, that Muslim marriages are recognized but out of community of property until Parliament amends this and makes it a law. And a lot of work needs to be done. Our ulama, our attorneys, everybody needs to come together and sit down and discuss how we're going to go forward, how we're going to move forward with such laws, with such Islamic laws, and bringing them into civil laws as well. It is 12:29. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media. We will be right back.